Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In 1996, villagers in Shaanxi Village, Qianlong Town, Pucheng County, Shaanxi Province, were still living peaceful, uneventful lives as usual. But one morning, a deafening explosion suddenly echoed above the village. It wasn't thunder, nor was it firecrackers, it was the blast of explosives. After the thunderous noise, dust and the acrid smell of burning filled the air. To the villagers' horror, they discovered that an ancient Qing Dynasty tomb outside the village had been blown open with dynamite. This tomb was no ordinary one. It was the only satellite burial located beside the mausoleum of Emperor Xuanzong of Tang, known as Tai Mausoleum. According to historical records, it was believed to be the resting place of Gao Lishi, the most trusted eunuch of Emperor Xuanzong. The name Gao Lishi is well known to almost every Chinese person. He was the emperor's closest grand eunuch and lived a life of glory and favor. Yet who would have thought that such a high-profile figure, once admired and powerful in life, would have his tomb disturbed by dynamite and laid bare to the world 1,000 years later? Soon after the incident, the Shaanxi Provincial Institute of Archeology dispatched an emergency excavation team to carry out a rescue excavation of the tomb. With both reverence and curiosity, the archaeologists entered the underground world that had once belonged to the powerful Gao Lishi. Upon entering, the team noticed that the tomb's ceiling had already collapsed due to the explosion, and the interior was in chaos. The initial work consisted of basic surveying, including the orientation and length of the tomb passage, distribution of burial mounds, and the number of skylights, air shafts. As soon as the data came out, the experts felt uneasy. Something about the scale and design of the tomb didn't add up. According to historical records, Gao Lishi had held the titles of Grand General of Agile Cavalry and Duke of Qi, positions that entitled him to a tomb of the highest standards. However, the passage was only 52 meters long, slightly longer than an average mid-sized Tang tomb, but far from grand. Even stranger, the widest part of the passage was just 1.6 meters, which was considered medium-sized during the Tang Dynasty. There were only 4 skylights, relatively few, and each was merely 50 to 60 centimeters wide, just enough for a single person to pass. The tomb's specifications clearly fell short of expectations. What puzzled the archaeologists even more was the wall painting situation. Though the team discovered a base layer for murals, made of straw mixed clay and lime, on both walls of the passage, the paintings themselves were barely recognizable. This indicated that while the tomb once had murals, their execution was very crude. The base layer was less than a millimeter thick, insufficient to preserve the artwork over time. Coupled with years of rainwater seepage, only blurred patches of color remained. These findings led experts to question, could this really be the tomb of Gao Lishi? Could a powerful figure like him have such a modest burial? The excavation continued. Villagers informed the archaeologists that the tomb had been looted more than once, starting sporadically in the 1970s. This latest intrusion had used explosives, indicating a crude and violent robbery. Fortunately, most of the looting tunnels had not reached the core chamber of the tomb, so there was still hope of recovering valuable artifacts. Along the sides of the tomb passage, archaeologists found 6 wall niches containing over 200 ceramic figurines, including court ladies, horse riders, and animals. Though not few in number, the figurines were crudely made and lacked artistic value, clearly not the kind of high-end burial goods reserved for dignitaries. The more the team excavated, the stranger it all seemed. If this really was Gao Lishi's tomb, why were the burial items so plain? Inside the burial chamber, things didn't look much better. The tomb gate mechanism had been destroyed. Though the ceiling was still intact, the walls were merely coated with a thin layer of whitewash, and what once may have been murals had long decayed. On the left side of the chamber, a stone bed lay broken, with only a few human bones scattered on it. However, on a corner platform, the team found over 20 Tang Dynasty coins, such as Kaiyuan Tongbao and Qianyuan Zhongbao. While these had historical value, they were hardly major archaeological discoveries. All the signs indicated that the tomb was built hastily and with considerable frugality, something starkly at odds with Gao Lishi's towering reputation. Just as the team was grappling with these contradictions, a key piece of evidence emerged, the epitaph stone. It was a fractured but still legible tomb inscription cover, discovered at the rear of the chamber. Carved on its surface was a line of clear text, epitaph of the late Tang Minister of State Affairs and posthumous Grand Commander of Yongle, Lord Gao. The evidence was irrefutable, this was indeed Gao Lishis tomb. The inscription itself had 45 lines and 1,420 characters, written in the semi-cursive script style of the Tang Dynasty, with powerful, flowing strokes. Some scholars noted its resemblance to the style of Wang Shiji. Later research confirmed that the work was by Zhang Shaoji, a renowned calligrapher of the High Tang period. The epitaph provided a detailed account of Gao Lishi's life, how he rose from being a eunuch to becoming Emperor Xuanzong's most trusted confidant, held immense power, served faithfully for over 40 years, and ultimately died in loyal service. This epitaph was the most important discovery of the entire excavation. Not only did it confirm the tomb's occupant, but it also offered rare, first-hand insight into the Tang dynasty's eunuch system, Gao Lishi's personal status, and the inner workings of imperial court politics. Yet one deeper mystery remained: why was the tomb of such a powerful man built so humbly? In Chinese operas, storytelling performances, and TV dramas, the image of Gao Lishi has long been deeply embedded in the public's mind, a sycophantic eunuch, a petty flatterer who served the emperor and bullied the weak while fearing the strong. Some even believe his tomb holds vast treasures simply because he was a eunuch, a powerful official, and a so-called treacherous courtier. But is the truth really that simple? One of the most widely told tales is about the poet Li Bai asking Gao Lishi to remove his boots. The story goes that during a banquet held by Emperor Xuanzong of Tang, Li Bai, thoroughly drunk, was carried into the palace. The emperor asked him to compose a poem to liven up the mood. Intoxicated, Li Bai casually ordered Gao Lishi, who stood nearby, to remove his boots. Though Gao was a high-ranking eunuch, he dared not offend the emperor's favorite poet and obediently complied. Li Bai, now seated, swiftly composed the Pechingping tune, praising the beauty of consort Yang, which greatly pleased the emperor. This story, passed down through generations, helped immortalize Li Bai's proud and carefree demeanor, but also cemented Gao Lishi's negative image as a groveling flatterer. However, the epitaph found in Gao Lishi's tomb and subsequent archaeological research have gradually revealed a different truth about this historical figure. Gao Lishi was not simply a sycophant, he was a loyal and capable servant of both civil and military affairs, one of the most unique and legendary eunuchs in the Tang dynasty. His birth name was Feng Yuan, and he came from Panzhou, modern-day Gaozhou in Guangdong. He was a descendant of Lady Xian, a famed general of the southern Liang dynasty. Known for her bravery, Lady Xian assisted her husband in quelling rebellions and even helped govern during the Sui dynasty. She was granted the title Lady of the State of Qiao and held immense power. By Gao Lishi's time, however, the family had fallen into decline, implicated in political purges. As a child, Feng Yuan was castrated and sent into the palace, beginning his life as a eunuch. Empress Wu Zetian recognized his intelligence and ordered special care and education for him, bestowing upon him the name Gao Lishi. From a young age, he displayed extraordinary talent, excelling in both the literary and martial arts, particularly archery. Records say he never missed a shot. He quickly gained the emperor's trust, not just serving in daily affairs but also commanding troops. After Emperor Xuanzong came to power, Gao Lishi became his trusted confidant, participating in state secrets and achieving numerous political and military accomplishments. The Enlushan Rebellion marked a major turning point in Tang history. In 755, Enlushan rebelled, plunging the court into chaos. Emperor Xuanzong fled westward toward Sichuan, and many officials and eunuchs abandoned him. Eunuch Yuan Siyu surrendered to the enemy. General Rouge also deserted. Only Gao Lishi stayed faithfully by the emperor's side, unwavering in his loyalty. During the flight, at Maowei Slope near Xingping, Emperor Xuanzong, to pacify his troops, reluctantly agreed to execute his beloved consort Yang. This decision, it is said, was encouraged by Gao Lishi. Understanding the dire situation and seeking to preserve the Tang dynasty, he persuaded the emperor to sacrifice personal feelings for the sake of the empire. He also played a crucial role in the succession plan, clearing the way for Emperor Suzong's ascension to the throne. However, Gao Lishi's final years were tragic. After Emperor Xuanzong abdicated, a new powerful eunuch, Li Fugua, took charge. Despite being a fellow eunuch, Li saw Gao Lishi as a threat and had him falsely accused and exiled to Qianlong Island in Hunan. He was pardoned 2 years later, but in 762, just as he began his journey home, Gao Lishi learned of Emperor Xuanzong's death. Overwhelmed with grief, he reportedly wept for days at Longxing Temple in Taoyuan, Hunan, before dying of sorrow at the age of 79. After his death, Emperor Daizong, Xuanzong's grandson, honored Gao Lishi's loyal service. As per Emperor Xuanzong's wishes, Gao was buried next to him at Tai Mausoleum, making him the emperor's sole tomb companion. Though the tomb was modest, its significance was profound. It symbolized an emperor's deep affection for his loyal servant. Emperor Xuanzong once praised Gao Lishi as the one who brings peace in sleep, meaning that with Gao by his side, he could rest easy. This rare imperial trust in a eunuch speaks volumes. The calligrapher Zhang Shaodi wrote Gao's epitaph, describing him as loyal without arrogance, favored without pride, obedient without guile, present without offense. Every word was a measured affirmation of Gao's character. Unfortunately, later historians judged him harshly. Song dynasty figures like Ouyang Xiu and Sima Guang criticized Emperor Xuanzong's favor toward Gao Lishi, claiming it set a dangerous precedent for eunuch dominance in court. By the Ming dynasty, during the chaotic reigns of eunuchs like Wei Zhongxian, public resentment toward eunuchs grew, and Gao Lishi was lumped together with them as a corrupt villain. As a result, his portrayal in dramas and novels became increasingly sinister and devious. Yet, the archaeological findings and his epitaph paint a fuller, more human picture. Gao Lishi came from a prestigious southern family. His ancestors like Lady Xian and Feng Mang were powerful regional leaders with military command. He was well educated and trained, loyal throughout his life, and served with merit. Despite being a eunuch, he neither abused power nor formed political factions. Even in exile, he remained steadfast in his loyalty. Today, his epitaph rests quietly in the Pucheng County Museum in Shaanxi. The text captures a life filled with both glory and sorrow. There were no gold or jewels in his tomb, only the truth of history, and the misunderstood story of a life devoted to service. He was a eunuch, yes, and a trusted courtier, living through the turbulence of power. But when we re-examine his life through epitaphs, historical documents, and archaeological evidence, we may find that Gao Lishi was not the treacherous eunuch history often claims, nor the sycophant of stage plays, but rather a pivotal figure in Tang history. He was with Emperor Xuanzong through the pinnacle of the Kaiyuan era and the storm of Maowei Slope. This eunuch was no longer just the punchline in the story of Li Bai's boots. He was Xuanzong's loyal minister, a protector during the Enlushan Rebellion, and one of the rare eunuchs in Chinese history remembered for his loyalty. So, what's your take on Gao Lishi? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. This is History and Culture channel. Like and subscribe are the biggest help and support for us. Thank you everyone. See you next time.